Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Be Still My Soul. And today we're looking at Psalm 23. Now, if the Psalms are the songbook of the Bible, then Psalm 23 is probably top of the charts. It is the most popular psalm and arguably the most popular passage of the Bible in the UK today. It's even sung by West Bromwich Albion fans at football matches. And it's often read at funerals. See, this is a psalm of trust and confidence in the goodness of God. And the psalm has been a comfort to many people who have been confronted with the most difficult situations and circumstances that life can throw at them. Now, in this psalm, we see God's goodness as he's portrayed as our shepherd, our companion, and our host. First of all, God is portrayed as our shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. God's shepherding care is our guarantee that no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what is happening to us or what will happen to us, we can say with confidence, I will not want. I will lack nothing. God will look after me. God will shepherd me, provide for me, care for me. That's his responsibility. And because he's my shepherd, and therefore because he will never fail, neither will his shepherding care in my life. See, that's what David's saying. David's saying that God is not a distant God. He's not a distant shepherd, but he's a personal, intimate shepherd. He's my shepherd. And because he's my shepherd, he will personally look after me and care for me throughout my life. So we can have a comforting trust day after day in his shepherding care. To emphasize his ongoing care, David says these words in verse 2. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Peaceful, calm. He leads me beside still waters. Secure, refreshing. He restores my soul. You see, God revives us again and again through his provision, through his care. You know, we all know what it is to get weary and tired in life, to get worn out just by life itself, let alone by the difficulties which we face. Well, God provides for us, and he provides for us through ordinary, regular, ongoing means. He will provide for our needs, our ordinary needs and our special needs as well. And not only does he restore our souls, but he leads us in a right way. He leads me in paths of righteousness. That is, he knows the right way for us to go. We don't, do we? But God does. He knows the right paths, and he will lead us along them, and he will do so for his name's sake. Not because we are good, but because of his honor. You see, that shepherding leadership that he has in our lives is not ultimately based upon us and our goodness, but on him and his goodness. And that increases our confidence. Because if his goodness rests on his honor, he's not going to dishonor his name. And so we can be confident that he will continue to shepherd us and provide for us and care for us. What a comfort it is to know that the Lord is our shepherd. But not only is the Lord our shepherd, he's also our companion. Even though I walk, David says, through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. See, David knows that God is his shepherd, but he's a shepherd who is a companion. You see, although we belong to God and we're under his great protection, you and I still face many dangers and difficulties in life. We experience suffering, we experience problems and trials. But we can lean hard on our shepherd at those times because he is present with us. He's beside us. He's beside us through all our difficulties, through all our adversities, through all our threats. And so we can have confidence and we can say, therefore, I will fear no evil. That doesn't mean that evil won't come our way. There are times in life when the journey gets dark, where the stretches of the valley are particularly dangerous. There are ravines in Israel which are dark and dangerous, particularly for sheep, a nightmare. But if their shepherd is with them, they will be safe. If your shepherd is with you, by your side, if he's your companion, your help, your protector, then you don't need to fear anything. David wants to emphasize that by saying that his rod and his staff are with us to comfort us. The words rod and staff, they are slightly different words, but I think they are a reduplication and they express complete protection from every danger. God himself, his close, his strong presence is with us. And if he's with you, then what can harm you? What danger can ultimately damage you? There are things that we might be afraid of. But ultimately, we don't need to fear anything. Because if God is with you, if he is for you, then you don't need to fear any harm, any evil. You don't even need to fear death. But you can finally say, the Lord is my shepherd. He's my companion. He's with me throughout my life. But not only is God our companion, but finally, David says, God is my host. What a wonderful picture verses 5 and 6 portray. David says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Maybe David wrote these words after his experience in 2 Samuel 17. You see, in that chapter, David and his men are running for their lives from David's son Absalom. They're in the wilderness. They fled from Jerusalem. They are exhausted, hungry, thirsty, without any provisions. And then along comes David's rich friend, Barzillai. And he provides a feast for David and his army in the wilderness. He provides abundant food, a leisurely, festive, satisfying feast, as it were, in full view of his enemies, and which David's enemies cannot disturb. Anointing, cups running over, satisfying. That's the picture here. See, the Lord isn't just a shepherd or a companion, but a host, a great host who provides, who satisfies his people. He does that now in our lives. He blesses us, even at times in front of our enemies. And one day he will be our host in heaven and provide us with a feast that will make the greatest party here seem dull and boring. That's what the Lord's Supper points to, that we celebrate week after week. We're going to sit with God one day and feast with him in heaven, the greatest party that there will ever be. And so David concludes this psalm by tracing his pathway forward. He says this, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. All the days of his life, David says, are being catered for by the goodness and the committed love of God. In fact, that word follow is a weak word. The actual word, and a better translation, is pursue. See, David sees that his enemies pursue him and want to bring him down, but God is also pursuing him. His enemies are pursuing him like a lion to attack their prey, but God is pursuing him with his special forces of goodness and steadfast love. And there can only ever be one winner. God will pursue you and me with love and goodness all our life long until we arrive in heaven. And so we can say, if we know that, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, David was sure of God's love towards him, and you and I can be even more sure. You see, we know how God is able to be our shepherd, our companion, and our host. See, God sent Jesus Christ, the Good Shepherd, to lay down his life for you and me, his sheep, to bring us into God's fold. Now, if he was willing to lay down his life for us, he is going to provide for all our needs throughout our lives. He's going to be beside us every step of the way, and until he leads us into heaven and provides us as our host with the greatest feast imaginable. He will lead us, he will guide us, and he will bring us home. The Lord is our shepherd.